This is the third Tallulah Falls School Athletic Legends Hall of Honor. It's an opportunity to celebrate and to honor the class of 2022 inductees. What's been great already about this, and it's happened the last two times that we had a Hall of Honor induction, is getting to know the people that are here and their families, hearing the stories that are passed around, the wonderful memories. I first want to introduce and recognize Dr. Larry A. Peavy. He's the president and head of school in his 16th year here at Tallulah Falls School. Under Dr. Peavy's leadership and support for TFS Athletics, many of you got to see the facilities that we have here on the tour a while ago. The baseball renovation, the indoor batting cage, the golf performance lab, the new sports performance center, the brand new natatorium. I can tell you as a coach that anytime any of our athletes need a piece of equipment or a coach needs a piece of equipment, certainly by the next year we have that, and that's because of Dr. Peavy's leadership and support of our program. We have opportunities to excel. Many of you saw the next level board down there. I think there's 60-something names that are on there. So we have more opportunities now to excel in the athletics and academic side. Our growth in our program is because of his great support, and we appreciate Dr. Peavy.
Thank you very much, Scott. I wish I could take credit for that. I love Scott to lead the program, but the credit all goes to our coaches, our faculty, and our staff. I mean, I've got some of the best folks to work with. Anybody could have walked in when I did and done the same thing, I think, simply because they have that kind of an interest in developing this school. While we're waiting on a few people, I want to tell you a few things about the school and what we're doing right now. But I want to welcome all of you. I really appreciate you coming today to help us celebrate these leaders of our past, and look what they've turned into today too. But they set a real standard while they were here as students. And I was just talking with the volleyball girls last night who won the state championship this year. That's the first time we've ever had a state championship. And I told them, I said, you know what you've done? You've set a whole new standard for our students that are enrolled right now. They know there's a possibility of being state champions because you just achieved that. And that's what these guys did when they were here. The football team, the other athletic leaders, I mean, they set a standard, and they told the rest of the student body, we can do what we need to do because we know what excellence is, and we've achieved it. And that continued on after they left. And they left people here to carry on that, you know, like Miss Harris and Dave Chester and Jimmy Franklin and Scott Neal and others. And that tradition continues. So you see what you started back in the 60s? It's still going on. And that's a wonderful thing. Well, let me tell you, the other wonderful thing is that we have grown to a level where we can actually have a baseball team with 9 boys on it. Now, some of you know what I'm talking about. When I first came, a little over 15 years ago, I came early. I was vice president at Georgia Military College in Milledgeville, Georgia. And I was asked to come up here, and I talked to Joe Bull, and I said, can you give me a release a little early so I can go meet some of these kids before they graduate and meet a lot of the teachers? So I came in April. And I wasn't supposed to start until the next fall, but I just felt like that was important to come in like that so we'd have a little time to get to know people. Well, they were playing baseball, and I went down to the baseball game. And it was a pretty shy crowd. There weren't many people watching. But I looked at the team in the dugout, and there were only 9 people. And one of them was a girl. And I asked the coach, I said, "Where are the rest of your players?" He said, "That's it." And it was, they did well. Fortunately, because they had that girl. She was the best player. And she was the first baseman. Remember Jill Gabriel? Y'all remember Jill. At any rate, I also went over to a tennis match. And they were not playing. They were just standing around waiting. And I said, "What are you waiting for?" And the coach said, "Well, our number 1 player is in the handbell choir, and they're playing in Cornelia Baptist Church today, and they're going to bring her as soon as they finish playing." I said right then that, get my wife off the phone here. And what they had was too few people to have a tennis team and a handbell choir. And so I said, my first job here probably is going to have to be to build the enrollment a little bit. We had 120 students, and they were all boarding students back then. And so I said, well, people are like that, they don't like to grow. So I talked to a couple of the teachers, and I didn't get a lot of, big support for it. In fact, 2 of them wanted to talk to me about it. So we set up a meeting the next day in the office, and they came in, and I was wanting to start a middle school because there was a lot of interest in middle school. And they came in with this document that was about that thick, folder, and they said, "We can't start a middle school." I said, "Why not?" They said, "Because we only have 1 bus, and it's a 14-passenger bus." I said, "Do you have any other objections?" "No, that's about it." And I said, "Well, we'll take care of that problem." And we started a middle school, and this is it. This is probably the only middle school in the nation that has a 40-foot fireplace. This was a lodge that failed, and we took it over, and we knocked walls out and redesigned it and made it into a state-of-the-art middle school. And that was one of our first projects. Then we took the old school building across the street that had conduit running down the middle of it, and it was pretty bad shape by then. It had been built in '59, I think, Miss Harris. And so we renovated it and made a 3rd floor and renovated the first 2 floors and extended it at both ends, turned it into a state-of-the-art classroom building. And then we built this gymnasium next door, and it turned out to be a really good multiple-purpose building. So we, instead of calling it a gym, we called it a student activity center. We use it upper school and middle school. And then we started renovating some other places just to make them, kind of better with appropriate air conditioning and roofs that weren't leaking and things like that. And our last project, after we finished the baseball fields and the rock wall, you've got to go see our rock wall. We did $1 million worth of blasting for the natatorium. We had to have some place to put the rocks. So we built a wall on the other side of the track. And so it's about a 35-foot wall holding up the track. And it's a beautiful thing to see. When you're out watching the baseball game, you've got this background behind the ball field that is solid rock, The only thing like that I know of anywhere. I think we could probably compete with some of the National League teams with the beautiful backdrops. But the last thing that we built, and will be the last thing for a while because we're still paying for it, is the natatorium. It's a 10-lane swimming pool. And it is truly state-of-the-art. We had a consultant out of New York that met with us on Skype every time we met for 3 years planning that. And we put everything in that building that you could possibly think of that was truly state-of-the-art and made it a beautiful facility. So our kids use it for swim teams, they use it for club practices, they use it for PE classes, we teach snorkeling, we teach all kinds of things there. They even put floats out, and the dorm students come over and watch movies on the big screen there in the water. They've got a tough life. But a lot of things have happened to make it better, but what we've tried to do is keep that family atmosphere. And the last thing I want to tell you about is how we do that. One, we keep our classes small, between 15 and 18 students in a class. You get to talk to a kid face to face. You get to answer their questions. You get to feel like you're in a family atmosphere, which is what our students tell me more than anything else that they liked about the school back in the 60s. And now, today, that's the thing I hear most too, that they like the family atmosphere. Well, we turned ourselves into a college prep school for a reason. You know, there are only two types of schools. They're therapeutic schools and they're prep schools. There's nothing in between. And you got to be one or the other because you can't be all things to all people. So I asked the staff, I said, how many specialists do we have that can help kids with dyslexia, that can help kids with different learning disabilities, that can help kids in other ways? And they said, well, we have one counselor, and that's an academic counselor. And I said, one thing for sure, guys, you're not a therapeutic school. Because what I was finding, out of that 120 students we had that first year I was here, almost half of them were not here after Christmas. Because they had either failed or been kicked out for something. I did a study for almost 15 years, and that had been the case. So we specialized in being what we could be, and that was an academic school. And so we started admitting some students that had strong academic background, but still had needs. And it was a great combination because we gave kids an opportunity to go to school in a very top quality environment that didn't have the financial resources. But we could almost guarantee their success because they came in prepared in math and English and history and science and those things. Well, we actually had almost a 60% attrition rate 16 years ago. Today, we have a 97% retention rate. 97%. 100% of our students are admitted to colleges and universities, and some of the finest across the nation and out of country. But the most important thing to me is that we're giving a lot of kids an opportunity to have an education that could not have had this kind of education. We give out right at $7 million in scholarships to our students every year. $7 million. The average student here pays under $5,000 to go to a top quality school that gives them a computer when they enter and takes care of them with the latest technology and the best teachers. So 70% of our students are on some type of financial assistance, but all of them were successful. Now that's pretty good. So I think what we're doing is carrying on the legacy that many others had established early on in the early 1900s, and when many of you were here. And we're going to continue doing that. We changed our mission to not only be one to produce top quality students, but we also added a component that encourages every aspect of our learning environment to promote the development of character. Just think what it's like when you've got kids that are graduating that not only are smart, but don't have to think about whether something is right or wrong. Now that, to me, is important. I wish all of our leaders had that same kind of understanding. But we're producing kids that are thinking in a very positive way, and they're very successful. Anyway, those are just a few things I wanted to share with you. We've got a lot of things still in the works, and Scott, Neal, and others have developed our sports program so that we have, I guess, about 40 sports now, don't we, Scott? So that's amazing in itself. But it's a pleasure to be with you today. I thank you for coming to this event. I look forward to honoring those that are here today. I hope you have a really pleasant time. And if you haven't had a chance to tour the campus, let us help you set up a tour where you can go and see the rest of the campus before you leave, okay? Thank you very much.
I also want to introduce Brian Carter. Brian is our Director of Sports Information and Digital Media. So Brian came here a few years ago and really revamped all of promotion of athletics. He's done an incredible job and did so much work getting this prepared today. So we want to thank you, Brian. So the mission of our athletic program is to develop great character, competence, and competitiveness, host great events, and to create a season of significance. So you could put it all down that we want our kids to have a season of significance. Well, the 1968 football team, the first team to be inducted into the Athletic Legends Hall of Honor, along with Tim Crenshaw and Chuck Nunn, left a significant legacy in our sports program. The imprint they left us demonstrates a consistent, gritty work ethic, a distinct belief in themselves and their teammates, and an unwavering commitment to be the best they could be. TFS had a football program from 1953 to 1969, but the 68 Indians were the most dominant football team in school history. In the 68 season, the Indians set team and individual records. Think about the dominance of these stats. A 9-1 record, Region C 3C runner-up, number 1 state ranking during the season, outscored the opponents 365 to 31. Offense averaged 40.6 points per game. The defense allowed less than 4 points per game. The Indians were ranked number 1 in the state for a couple of weeks until the lone loss to Georgia Industrial Institute. Prior to that loss, they'd gone 3-0 and outscored the opponents 103 to 6. After that single loss, they never allowed a single point the rest of the way. Holding scoreless Loganville, Monticello, Riverside Military Academy, Decula, and Buford. TFS finished ranked number 3 in the state in a time where only the region champions made the playoffs. The TFS season ended with the blanking of Buford. The 68 team includes 2 members of the Athletic Legends Hall of Honor. Mike Kemp was an All-State honoree while setting Georgia High School Association state records that season in receiving yards with 1,843 and also touchdown catches with 20. Those records stood for several years, and Mike ended his career with the former state all-time receiving yards record of 3,097. During that 68 run, he also set a state record that still remains, and that's scoring 5 touchdowns in 5 different ways in a single game. Tim Crenshaw was an all-state lineman who anchored both sides of the line for the Indians. Members of the 68 team that are present today, please come forward when I call your name to receive a medallion and a certificate for us. You are welcome to speak for 1 or 2 minutes, and you can use the microphone or just stand in front of people and speak. If I miss someone that's on this list, I'm going to call out everybody, but when your name is called and you're here, come on up, please. John Abel, Donnie Bailey, Fred Bailey, Randy Barnett, Buddy Blair, Johnny Boring is here. Johnny, come on up.
Hey, John. Thanks. Hey, I was just a rolling for the guys. I was just a manager. They were great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Nice. Right. Joseph Jackson.
Joseph Coward, Ralph Carpenter, Tim Crenshaw is here.
Was I supposed to talk? Oh, okay, I'll get a chance later. Y'all have to put up with me then.
Sammy Jenkins.
The little fall was the best thing that ever happened.
Gordon Skipper Johnson, Richard Justice, Mike Kemp is here. Don King, Lewis King, Johnny Kitchens, Steve Knight, Robert McComb, Kenneth Nicholson. He's here, glad to have him. Mike Nicholson, Malcolm Oakley, Tommy Oppenheim, and he is here.
Well, this is really special. Big surprise. Appreciate it very much. Right, Tom.
Bobby Rader, Ronnie Ray, Bob Ryan, George Rosser. He has passed away, but his family is here.
Right.
Christian.
Yeah, my dad loved his school, and he loved his teammates, and we thank you guys for everything. Thank you.
Phil Tucker and Larry Vickers. Larry is here.
Well, School of Falls, what can I say? It's in our life forever. It's the greatest tradition of any school that you could ask for. And Dr. PV, the faculty and staff, kudos to all of you. Mrs. Harris, especially, love you. So let it live forever. Thank you.
So one thing to finish up about this 1968 football team, one thing that we've learned in researching these things, that more and more information comes up. So if any of you out there have any pictures, if you have any stories that you want to write down and let us know, if you have any memorabilia that you would like to share or copy and send to us, anything like that, that helps us out a lot. But what's pretty remarkable is what you're seeing here today. This is the unintended, that we didn't know this was going to happen when we started this a few years ago, is getting people back together in a situation where we get to celebrate them. We get to celebrate that 1968 team was a legend. The people that we're inducting today, they were legends in this school, meaning that they, just like our state volleyball team, they set a standard. Now they broke through a barrier. No one had ever run a 4-minute mile, right? Until someone did it. And now there's hundreds of people done it, and some people have done it hundreds of times. So that 68 football team, they were a legend in our school. Heard so many things about the individuals on that team, everything from the managers who were just so supportive of everything that was done, to the people that were all state and in between. And the thing that we heard most from everybody that we've talked to and everything that we've seen was there was no difference along the way. That everybody felt a part of that team and everyone felt significant in that team. And that we honor that today. So the 1968 football team, you are now inducted into the TFS Athletic Legends Hall of Honor. Congratulations.
When we mentioned that the Georgia Industrial thing broke their records, I was at that game, and I mean to tell you, the fact that Georgia Industrial said, oh, all of these guys are just, have to be under 18 years old. Not so. They were grown men. I don't remember what percentage of the team went to the emergency room. By the time it was over, there were like 4 guys out there trying to finish the game because so many of them had been practically killed. You know? It was the worst game I have ever seen. I don't think I've ever been more angry that we actually accepted a chance to play. It was a prison.
So our first individual inductee of the evening tonight is 1971 graduate Tim Crenshaw. While at TFS, Tim led it in football 3 years. He was an AJC All-State offensive lineman, offensive tackle and defensive end on this legendary team. He led it in cross country 2 years, led it in basketball 2 years, led it in track and field 4 years. He was a 2-time High Point Award in track and field for TFS. He was a campus work leader, and he finished 3rd place in the shot put, which we didn't know until all of this, is a still school record of 56 feet 3 inches. That's actually, so you'll know, that's 6 feet further than anybody else has thrown here so far. We have some shoes to fill. Tim played football at UGA 1 year and also attended to at McConnell College. He utilized those lessons learned in his leadership to his professional career in the construction industry. He's been a top apprentice foreman, a commercial construction superintendent, and the head guy in a carpenters union. He continues to work to use his work ethic and his expertise even today. Tim Crenshaw, we are proud to induct you today into the Tulare Falls School Athletic Legends Hall of Honor. Congratulations.
You had something else? I know, thank you, Don. Appreciate it. Congratulations. Thank you. Well, when I came to Tulare Falls, back when I was a lowly freshman, I knew it was something different. I started going to classes and stuff. And the work program here was really unusual. Tommy will tell you, he's been with me in the mornings at 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. to go milk the cows and slop the hogs and all that stuff, but it all had to be done. We didn't have a lot of fun doing it, but we built a lot of, lifelong friendships and stuff. I was very fortunate to go to school here. My mother was like the president of the women's club in Toccoa, and that's how she knew about it. I didn't want to go any place that didn't have a football team. I had an opportunity to go other places, but I chose Tula Falls because they had a football team I wanted to play. I was pretty good. I learned a lot of life lessons, had a lot of good times. Ms. Harris will tell you that after me, Larry Vickers, Ray Crenshaw, and Dan Vickers left the school, it was kind of a letdown because when we used to clean up the high schools, we were in charge of that, I was in charge of that. They would come into classes on Monday, and for some reason their drawers and stuff would be all in different places because the drawers were all identical, and we'd move them around in different places and stuff. We wouldn't do anything too malicious, but they would go around asking other people, hey, have you got my drawer over there, or something like that? Yeah, I think I got it. So they'd have to go and look at different places. But we would do things that we thought we would get in trouble for, but it turns out the teachers enjoyed it because it's always something different. But I had made a lot of great friends. Tommy and I went to college together at the University of Georgia, and visited Tommy a few times down when he was going to dental school. And Larry Vickers and I finally hooked up again, and we've been lifelong friends ever since. We were roommates, so we got into plenty of trouble, but I won't go into that right now. Anyway, I'd like to thank everybody at Tula Falls School and for this honor, and would encourage anybody and everybody that has an opportunity to go to this school to do so, because it'll change your life. You don't think it does at the time, but once you go and you make the friends that you make and do the things that you wanted to do, it does make a huge difference in your life, especially later on when you make these connections. You pick up the phone, you call up people, you reminisce, and you network with them, and you have a good time. Because you can always go back to those great times, and some not so great times, but you've got something to talk about. Mr. Nunn, I was the editor of the school paper, and we had a few discussions about what I put in the editorial. It was my point of view. He didn't always appreciate it, but when I explained to him what I was trying to do, he was okay. He didn't put me in any punishment or anything. But anyway, again, thanks for this honor, and thanks to Tula Falls School, thanks to the Women's Club for letting me in this school. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Chuck Nunn, graduate in 1978. While at TFS, Chuck lettered in tennis and basketball all 4 years. Lettered in track and field 2 years. He was the team MVP in tennis and basketball all 4 years. He earned the high scoring award in basketball. He was a 3-time region champion in tennis. He was ranked number 23 nationally in the junior tennis circuit. He received the Industrial Arts Award in 1976-77 and 77-78. He was named Most Outstanding Student in 1977-78. While at Gainesville Junior College in 1979, Chuck was a JUCO All-American. While at Southwest Texas State University from 80 to 83, Chuck earned his bachelor's degree in physical education and a minor in journalism public relations, all while becoming a NAIA national champion, an NCAA Division II national champion, and both team and individual singles champion, an NCAA Division I national runner-up, He's a 3-time All-American, NAI singles, doubles, NCAA Division II doubles, 2-time All-Lone Star Conference at both singles and doubles, the NAIA Ward Ballinger Sportsmanship Award. Chuck had a very successful professional tennis career with the ATP, the Association of Tennis Professionals, from 82 to 88. He was at Wimbledon, French Open. Imagine when Brian and I are looking this up and finding these things. We got somebody that played in Wimbledon? Oh my gosh! The French Open, US Open, the Canadian Open qualifier from 1984 to 87. He had a minimum of 162 professional wins, 7 top 23 wins, 2 top 10 wins, 60-plus matches against Davis Cup opponents, winning 50% of those, 250-plus professional matches altogether. He achieved a top 300 world ranking. After his successful professional tennis career, Chuck turned his energy into much success in the automobile industry as a trainer and consultant. Still in the prime of his life, Chuck now reinvests in the tennis world as a tennis trainer and consultant. In the tennis world as a tennis trainer and consultant in Cartersville, Marietta. We had a good time talking with Chuck, meeting him and getting to know him, considering him a true family friend. Chuck, we're thrilled to recognize you today as an athletic legend in our Hall of Honor. Congratulations.
The Academy and the Hollywood Foreign Press. No, wait a second, that was the last one that I went through. Just kidding. Hey, Linda. It's a privilege to be here. I've gotten really a lot of adrenaline and a lot of emotions. Testing. Okay. I wrote a book before I got here, but I forgot the book at home. So you guys got lucky. This will be short. Thank you. I'd like to thank, number one, a lot of folks for being here. And that's my immediate family that has come here. I didn't really think that many would come. But thanks to all my in-laws that came, thanks to my brothers, Leland and Jeff that came. Thanks to Holton King. Where's Holton? Holton is, he was my trainer and coach back then. He was a great friend, but he was a very good role model for me. He kept me out of trouble. I'd like to thank definitely my wife and my daughter because they've made my life a lot better and my growth throughout the years, even after I stopped playing tennis, they became my career. And Kathy and Charlie, y'all are my world. You guys are my rock. And that's what kind of keeps me going right now. Family. And that's what I see here, coming back here now, is that, being 62 years old, when I look in the mirror now, it's pretty crazy. It's a time where you reflect, and especially coming back to the school, Dr. Peavy, you've done some immaculate, crazy things here. just, and the joy. And Scott, y'all are the backbones here, and walking around the facilities has just been incredible. I grew up here. I first came here from Loganville, Georgia. My family was, my dad was the principal of Loganville High School. My brothers played football, track and field, baseball at Loganville High School. Jeff actually went to the World Series. Pretty amazing in the pony leagues in baseball. Leland was on one of the fastest track teams and could punt it. I think y'all won state at that time at Loganville. And also, he could punt a football a mile. He should have punted for the University of Georgia if he would have just kind of picked up a book occasionally. That's actually a compliment, Leland. I come from a very athletic family, in other words. I had to actually shag balls on the tennis court for my brother and my brothers and my dad, and I couldn't play at the time. I was probably about 9 or 10. But they would let me pick up their balls and give them back to them. So I became a ball boy at first. I was a good ball boy. After the ball boy stuff, I started growing a little bit, and I really wanted to do a little bit better, and I wanted to beat everybody. I just wanted to win. I had the athletic, venue in me, or whatever it's called. But that was from Loganville. We moved from Loganville to Tallulah Falls, and my dad got the he accepted a position here at Tallulah Falls High School. I was about 11 at the time. I was playing baseball in Loganville, and I was a pitcher for Bob Wood, and I played pitcher. And I didn't really want to come because I really enjoyed playing baseball and wanted to pitch, and I played whatever position he wanted to play me on that particular day. But we moved here. I was 11. I couldn't go to school here because we were only 8 through 12 at Tallulah Falls at the time. So at 11, I went to Woodville Elementary in the 5th and the 6th grade. Then I had to get on a bus to go to Clarksville, to North Habersham. I was never so glad to be able to join my dad at Tallulah Falls because I didn't have to get on that big green yellow bus and travel to Clarksville every day. So I was pretty happy, not just to go to school here, but just not to go to North Habersham at that particular time. Hold on. Pause for a commercial. So I was 12 years old at that particular time. We had 125 students in the school at that particular time. One thing that I wanted to note was my mom and dad really became mom and dad for the school because all the students at the time adopted them as their mom and dad. And they were known as Mom and Pop Nunn. Jimmy, where are you? Jimmy Franklin back there was, he was just hired to come for, and there's Frank, my good friend. Jimmy Franklin was hired, and I think Mom and Dad kind of took him under his wing, and they loved him to death. And it's amazing to see you here today, 50 years later. But give him a hand. That's amazing. My journey. Everybody's got a journey. Everybody's got a story. Mine happened to start here at Tallulah Falls. And I was really blessed to be here because I wasn't a boarding student. I was kind of an independent student staying in faculty housing, and some of you saw the house that I lived in from the time that I was, I guess from 74 to 78 while I was here. And so I had some certain privileges, but I respected those privileges, didn't I, Linda? I was able to kind of roam the campus, go into the gymnasium whenever I wanted to, go to the tennis courts when I wanted to. Curfews were typically at 10 o'clock. All the boarding school students had to be back in the dorms. And you might see me kind of sneaking back in the gymnasium around 11:30, shooting hoops or actually hitting balls up against the wall. It's kind of neat. Actually, I almost broke my neck on the trampoline at that particular time. I want to recognize two teachers in particular. One was Eddie Dixon. He was my basketball coach. And I think his ambitions for me in basketball were much greater than what I thought my ambitions were going to be or how far that could take me. But I was pretty good in basketball. He actually took the time to write every ACC school for me. And the ACC school in basketball, you understand how he got me tryouts at different ones, and I went to one, and I thought, well, they can do everything better than me, and they bounce the ball higher than me, and they can shoot quicker, and they're typically about 6'8", 6'10" as a guard. So that's when I turned my influences to tennis, because I felt tennis was where I needed to go to kind of flourish and get as far in life as I could. Eddie Dixon was a great man. The coach, my particular coach, so I commend him. I wanted to mention his name. The second individual is really, really very close and dear to our entire family, and that's Linda Harris. Linda Harris, give her a hand. Linda Harris is, she was not just my math teacher, but we had a connection. She taught me, I think, geometry and maybe algebra, or, heck, she had to teach me how to add. But she was more than just a person that taught me. She was more than a teacher of excellence. She believes in excellence, and she believes in her kids. You go through life and you have people that are telling you that you can't do something. Don't ever let anybody tell you you can't do something. I don't care what it is. Look at them in the face and defy and say, good luck to you, and go about your business. And that's what you did. You put belief in your kids. Just in that room, it blossomed into a tree. And you got kids all over the country right now. But I commend one story that I'd like to say is that Linda would go sometimes when I was playing junior tennis. I was playing 16s and under or 18s and under. And I would have to go to Savannah or, Macon or somewhere. And sometimes she would go with us. Well, one time she went with me and Mom, and we're down in, I think, Savannah, and the car, we get into Savannah, and the car caught on fire. Fire's coming out of the front end. And I should be playing in like 2 or 3 hours. But, we had a giggle about that. Now, this is my math teacher having fun with me like that. It's pretty cool. That was really cool. This school really did some things for me that I didn't know until after I graduated from here. It instilled some things and some and belief that you can do whatever you want to do. And I had enough of a foundation to go to school. I'm not sure if I would have even gone to college if it hadn't been for athletics, maybe. I think athletics took me that way. So I'm proud of that. Jim Valvano was the coach of North Carolina State University. You know Jim Valvano? You heard him speak at the ESPYs. Something struck with me. He had cancer. He ended up dying of cancer. He was given the Arthur Ashe Award. The most prominent award for, I can't remember the actual award, but it was just for greatness, for believing greatness. And what he did, not for just the athletics, but for humanity, for people. And there's three things that I'd like to quote from him. And that's, number one, that you should get out of life, that my mom really kind of instilled in me, was laughter. Laughter. You don't have laughter on your face. Laughter in your heart. Find something to laugh about. Keep a smile on your face. The second is thinking. One should actually really give some thought every day to what you want to do. Short-term goals, long-term goals. How you want to be better for your family. How you want to be a better person than you were yesterday. So laughter and thought, thinking. And throughout that day, something should bring you to maybe having some tears in your eyes. An emotion that would bring tears to your eyes. That's a pretty good day. That's a great day. I'm very humbled about being here. I'm very humbled about the coming here, the accommodations, and how you guys have been to us. I didn't think anybody ever remembered me, much less anything else, but thank you so much, Scott, for everything. For the escort, for showing us around, showing my family around. Dr. Beatty, thank you so much for being here and continuing the tradition. Because it is a tradition. And it's amazing what you have done here. Thank you, Linda, for everything, for being my friend. This brings back a solidarity with me, and it brings, like I said, emotions, and this is part of my tears in my eyes. But I appreciate the thought and the generosity that you guys have taken the time to do this for the school. And I just pray that this tradition just continues to grow. You guys have got athletes here. You've got good people here. Some of the best coaches in the world are not just coaches. They're just good people. And you follow that. Love all of you guys. Peace and love. Talk to you later.
Thank you, Judge.
And as we conclude the ceremony, we want to reiterate the ripple effect that honoring the 1968 football team, Tim Crenshaw and Chuck Nunn, has in our community. We purposely didn't invite the students and that kind of stuff. We wanted to make it more of a family, intimate affair. But the reality is this reverberates to those students. We pass on the story of this to the students. It's on our social media. Our students will recognize that there were legends here today. And that gives them an opportunity, something to shoot for them, something to extend, to go past barriers that were set before them. Because it reminds us all that what we do now matters. That work and commitment is good. That adversities are critical to growth, to give your very best, and to be great. As 2018 inductee Mariam Abdullah so profoundly stated, legends stand out and create their own paths. 1968 football team, Tim and Chuck, you are legends in the heart of TFS. You'll be recognized tonight between the girls' varsity basketball game and the boys. That'll be around 6:30-ish. For any of you that can stay, that'd be wonderful. There's a reception area upstairs in the gym for you and your families. All of you that are here, you're welcome to be there. We'll make our way down to the gym floor towards the end of the fourth quarter, and we'll introduce you in front of the crowd. So this concludes our ceremony. We will take pictures of each inductee, the 1968 football team first, right over here at our backdrop, and then Chuck and Tim after that. Thank you all for being here so much.